21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. Who's dead? Who? He was killed. Ah. Where is it? Where? 88 East what? East 70th? Who is this calling?
You are in the muster room at the 21st Precinct, the nerve center.
What?
A call is coming through. You will follow the action taken pursuant to that call from this minute until the final report is written in the 124 room at the 21st Precinct.
All right. Just stay right where you are. The officers will be there right away. Yes, right away. They'll take care of it. Yes, right away.
21st Precinct. It's just lines on a map of the city of New York. Most of the 173,000 people wedged into the 9/10 of a square mile between Fifth Avenue and the East River wouldn't know if you asked them that they lived or worked in the 21st. Whether they know it or not, the security of their persons, their homes, and their property is my job. My job and the job of the 160 patrolmen, 11 sergeants, and 4 lieutenants of whom I'm the boss. My name is Kennelly, Frank Kennelly. I'm captain in command of the 21st.
What makes a city? Not buildings, not subways, not business. People make a city. From dawn to midnight, from midnight to dawn, people will pour their lives together and stir up a city where even love can lead to death.
I was working my 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. tour. When I arrived at the station house, I signed the blotter and read over reports and communications that had accumulated since I went off duty 24 hours previously. Sharply at 8, I walked into the muster room and turned out the platoon for the day tour. As the men marched out the door to take over their posts, Sergeant Burns, the patrol sergeant, indicated he wanted to see me. I came around from behind the desk where Lieutenant Gorman was on duty as desk officer and Sergeant Klein on the boxes, and crossed to my office. Sergeant Burns was waiting inside.
Morning, Captain.
Hello, Sergeant. Well, what is it?
Bolney went sick this morning, Captain.
Yes, I noticed it on the roll call. What about it?
Well, he's been riding in Sector Car 2 with Warren.
Yes, I know it. Listen, what's this UF-61 here? It says a radio stolen from a parked car. What kind of radio? And where was the car parked? I can't sign a report like that and send it on to division.
Was that on my tour, Captain?
Yesterday, yes. Don't you look these things over before they're written up? How did he get by you?
Whose is it?
Parker. Check his memorandum book and see if he's got the facts himself. If he hasn't, get on his tail.
Yes, sir.
All right. What about Bolney?
Well, he's been riding his recorder in Sector Car 2 with Warren.
Yes?
I noticed they hadn't been getting along so well together, always scrapping about who's going to take what pinch and so forth. No complaints to me, but I could see this had been going on. I warned them that I'd split them up if they didn't knock off. Well, it kept going on. After the tour yesterday, I told them I was going to put them both on fixed posts today.
And Bolney went sick this morning?
Yes, sir.
Well, how about Warren?
He's swinging.
You think Bolney's malingering?
He looked all right yesterday afternoon, Captain.
Did he?
Yes, sir.
Sergeant Klein.
Sergeant, get me the reserve surgeon, will you?
Yes, sir. Captain, looks like we've got a bad homicide.
Where?
The boy's hopping, Captain. I got 4 or 5 calls.
All right, I'll be out. Says it looks like we've got a bad homicide.
Where's that?
I don't know. The board's jammed up.
That's right, 88 East 70th.
Right.
That's all we know about it. Call came through CB. I caught it on the air. Okay. I'm sorry, Captain.
That's all right. What do we got?
It came over the air as a Signal 32 ambulance responding. I rang down to CB and they told me a woman called in, the maid, apparently. She got to work this morning and found the lady's body.
Homicide for sure?
She was a little hysterical, that's what they gathered.
No name?
No, sir, not yet.
Well, did you notify the detectives?
Yes, sir, just now. That's the press again. They've been burning in here since the call was put out. 88 East 70th, that's a good address. 21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein.
Let's take a ride over there, Molly.
Yes, sir. Look, you know as much about it as we do. Call didn't even come through here. The detectives are just now on the way. I just know
I
about
gave instructions to the desk officer to reach the surgeon on reserve by telephone with a request to visit the home of Patrolman Bolney, who reported sick under circumstances which indicated he might be attempting to evade disagreeable duty. Then with Sergeant Burns, I drove to 88 East 70th Street, the scene of the reported homicide. The house was a 4-story white stone mansion built early in the century and converted within the last 10 years to an apartment building, 1 apartment on each floor. One of the sector men had been posted at the street door to keep the curious out of the entrance hall. He told us the occurrence did, in fact, appear to be homicide. We went inside and took the small self-service elevator to the 3rd floor. The door to the apartment was standing wide open. The place was magnificently furnished. There were thick wall-to-wall carpets. I went over to talk to the maid who sat on the living room couch. She still wore the hat she had on when she arrived at work.
Oh, Miss Edith.
I'm Captain Kennelly.
She was so beautiful, so beautiful. To walk in the bedroom like that and find her sprawled out, cold.
Did you call the police?
Yes, sir. I called the police. When I first opened the door of the apartment, I knew there was something the matter. I knew it. The television was on, newspapers, grasses were all over the front room, ashtrays full up. Miss Edith never left anything like that.
Looks pretty straightened up in here now.
Yes, sir. I turned off the television and picked up a little. Then I walked back to the kitchen. That's when I saw her. The minute I saw her, I knew it. Laying on the floor there in the bedroom, just stretched out. That yellow hair she had all turned everywhere. She always had it so neat. So neat, mister.
What's your name?
My name?
Yes.
Doris. Doris Ramsey.
Ramsey?
No, sir. With an O. My family spell it with an O. Head bashed in like that. Who could do something like that to Miss Edith? She never hurt anybody in the world. Never hurt anybody in the world. So kind and nice.
Where do you live, Doris?
134th Street.
Where on 134th Street?
46 West. Poor Miss Edith. Poor, sweet little thing.
Excuse me, Captain.
Never hurt
Yes?
nobody.
Ambulance
Nobody.
crews here.
Only
Oh, well, you better
good.
keep them out in the corridor. The fewer people walking around in here, the better.
Yes, sir. I'll tell them.
Her name was Edith Camden?
Yes, sir. Edith Camp. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Does she have any family?
No, sir. No family. At least not in New York. She comes from Texas. She's got brothers in Texas. 2, I think. Poor, sweet little girl. So sweet.
She must have been pretty well off to live in an apartment like this. Did she live here alone?
Yes, sir. All alone.
She wasn't married.
No, sir.
Was she ever married?
No, sir. Not that she told me.
Did she go to business?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, did she have a job or anything like that?
Oh, no, sir. Not Miss Edith.
Well, what did she do?
She had a friend, Captain.
Oh.
Hello, Captain.
Oh, hello, Matt. Doris, this is Lieutenant King. He's in charge of the detectives who'll take over this case.
Yes, sir.
You tell him everything he wants to know.
Yes, sir. Poor Miss Edith. I don't know what I'm going to do without her. I couldn't work for nobody else. Nobody else.
Where is it, Captain, in there?
Yeah.
Let's take a look. You sit here, Doris, all right?
Yes, sir. It's all right. I'm not going no place.
What do you think the rent is on this place, Captain? $400 or $500 a month?
Yeah, something like that, I guess.
Pretty steep.
Not if someone else pays it. In here, Matt.
Pretty dress she was wearing. Not torn. She wasn't struggling with anyone.
No, it doesn't appear that way.
That's what she was hit with, I guess. What is it, do you think?
I don't know. Looks like a fire tool to me.
Hmm. Who was she? What'd she do, do you know?
She didn't do anything. She had a friend.
No. Well, the tabloids are going to have a field day with this one. Made to order for them.
It sure is. There's all the elements. A mystery, a blonde, and Park Avenue.
Yes, sir. Too bad she's not around to read about it.
The call had come in at 6 minutes after 8 a.m. It was now 8:25. At the moment, little more was known about the case than what we could see. A striking blonde named Edith Campton was dead from a blow across the base of the skull in the bedroom of her apartment just off Park Avenue. Within minutes, the apartment began to fill up with specialists and experts. Detectives from the Manhattan East Homicide Squad arrived to work with detectives from the 21st Squad. As required, the chief medical examiner and the New York County District Attorney were notified. Latent fingerprint experts and a photographer from the police laboratory were summoned. Superior officers of the detective division, who had been notified in accordance with the manual of procedure, began to arrive on the scene. At 10 minutes before 9, when I left the apartment, the investigation was well underway. I instructed Sergeant Burns to have his men resume patrol as soon as possible. On the street, a considerable crowd had gathered. The press was out in force. I suggested they direct their questions to the chief of detectives, the commander of the Manhattan East Homicide Squad, and the district attorney's office. At 5 minutes after 9 o'clock, I returned to the precinct house.
Hello, Captain.
Sergeant?
Excuse me, this board has been humming. 21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. Chief who? Oh, he's not here. I haven't seen him. Just a second. Captain, it's the borough commander's office. Did you see Deputy Chief Pope this morning?
Well, he was over at the scene of that homicide.
Hello. He was over at the scene of that homicide we had. Is he still there, Captain?
Well, he was there when I left.
He was there when Captain Kennelly left. All right, call his office. I'll tell him, yeah. Hold you, Captain. Hopping. 21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. Listen, Coley. Somebody called in here and said there was a bus stop stanchion in the second floor hall of 622 East 64th. Well, how should I know? Some drunk must have carried it in there during the night. Walk over there and take a look. Yeah. All right. How should I know how the stanchion got in the hall?
Did you hear from the surgeon on reserve, Sergeant?
No, sir, not yet. How's this homicide look?
Pretty heavy, Sergeant.
Well, that's all we need around here now. Another Lonergan case.
What else is doing, Sergeant?
A car struck a pedestrian on Lexington Avenue in 60th.
Bad?
The man got up and walked away from it. Then he decided his back hurt and he went into Metropolitan.
Did we hold the driver?
No, sir. The man walked out from between two parked cars and right into the side of the automobile. Just given a summons for faulty brakes. 21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein. The detectives are all out. Can I help you? Well, that's what the detectives are all out on, that homicide. No, I don't know anything more about it. Okay. You're welcome. Some guy from the journal.
You'll have that all day, Sergeant. You might as well be ready for it.
I know. What's it look like, Captain?
What do you mean?
Any idea who killed her?
I just started looking into it when I left.
How was she killed?
With a fire tool, apparently. Listen, what time have you got Farrell and Eisman down for their meals?
12:30 to 1 for Eisman, 1 to 1:30 for Farrell, Captain.
Well, switch them around because I want the car at 1 to take me downtown to Division.
Yes, sir.
Let Eisman take his meal at 1 and put him on post until Farrell gets back with the car.
She was supposed to be a pretty good-looking head, Captain.
Yeah, I imagine she was.
And one of those fellows in the press told me she won a beauty contest in Texas 7 or 8 years ago. That's how she first happened to come to New York. Judges picked her unanimously. Texas Venus, they call her.
Did they? I wonder what the judges would have called her if they'd seen her this morning. Homicide is, of course, the most serious crime on the books. But it's not very often that detectives are called upon to deal with a murder mystery typical of detective fiction in which the guilty party must be singled out from among a number of known suspects. Nearly all homicides fall into two other categories. Either they're crimes committed in the heat of passion with the killer readily identifiable and easily apprehended, perhaps within minutes after the act, or they're felony murders committed during the course of robbery, burglary, or rape, in which case the killer seldom had any previous connection with the victim. In the case at hand, there was an element of mystery. At 20 minutes past 10 a.m., I had finished reading and signing reports and communications. Captain Kennelly.
Sergeant Klein, Captain. The surgeon on reserve is ringing in. Dr. Van Teller?
Oh, all right.
Hold on, Captain.
Captain Kennelly.
Hello, Captain. Dr. Van Teller, Chief Surgeon's office.
Yes, Doctor.
I called at the home of Patrolman Boney. He wasn't bad.
Well, did you examine him?
Yes, I did.
Did he appear to be malingering?
Well, he complained of a pain in his stomach.
I see.
Well, if anyone can complain of a pain in the stomach, whether they got it or not. But a temperature of 101.5 is a little bit difficult to manufacture. He's sick, all right.
Oh, well, what's the matter with him, Doctor?
Well, it looks like this virus is going around. That's what I'd say it is.
Well, how long do you think he'll be out?
A couple of days, that's all.
All right, Doctor, thank you.
All right, Captain.
Goodbye. Much obliged. Captain Kennelly.
Sergeant Klein on TS, Captain. Joe Wygan of the news is out here. He wants to see you.
Oh, about what?
About what, Joe? About the homicide, Captain.
Tell him I don't know anything about that. He ought to talk to the detectives.
Yes? Captain says he doesn't know anything about it, Joe. Talk to the detective. Oh, just a second. He wants to see you anyway, Captain.
All right, tell him to come on in.
Yes. Go on in, Joe.
Oh, Sergeant,
Yes, sir.
who's on post number 6?
Singleton, Captain.
Come in. When he rings in, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Captain.
Yeah, leave the door open, Joe. When he rings in, tell him I've got a written complaint from a citizen about a peddler selling fruits and vegetables from a wagon over there. Tell him if he runs across that peddler to check and see if his license is okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sit down, Phil.
Big doings up here today, Captain.
Well, I can't tell you anything about it, Joe. I don't know anything. I was only there for a few minutes this morning.
What the apartment look like upstairs? Plush?
Yeah, it was plush, if you want to call it that, but you better talk to Lieutenant King or the Chief of Detectives or the Homicide Captain. They've got it all over there. We don't know anything here.
Look, Captain, I got tired of waiting out on the street. I saw all the big brass going in and none of them coming out. You get tired of standing first on one foot and then the other. What's the deal? Who did her in?
Joe, I told you, I don't know anything.
You're the captain of the precinct, aren't you?
Well, I still don't know anything.
What is this, Frank? The Wilhelmstrasse? Somebody's got to know something.
Now, be patient, Joe. You've got a morning paper. You've got all day to get your story. You'll get it.
I'm embarrassed to call my city editor.
Well, don't be embarrassed, Joe. He understands.
You never know how to talk to him.
Get your story out there, Joe. The Chief of Detectives.
Excuse me, Captain. Thanks a lot.
The muster room was alive with activity. Lieutenant Matt King of the 21st Detective Squad had walked in the door with the Chief of Detectives and the acting captain in command of the Manhattan East Homicide Squad. Close on their heels were reporters from all of the 7 daily papers with general circulation in New York, the Associated Press, and a newsman from CBS Radio. Lurking on all sides were photographers from most of the papers and motion picture cameramen. It was apparent that these top officers had avoided talking to the press at the scene of the homicide, but now they were cornered. I walked out into the muster room where the questions were being fired at a rapid rate.
Chief, did the medical examiner fix the time of death?
Not yet, not definitely. Sometime during the night.
So there is quite a double life.
All right, take it easy. Just a second.
Quiet. Listen, Chief, we don't have anything for a story yet. Nothing. Give us a break, will you?
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do, boys. There's some things we know we can't tell you yet. Give us a couple of minutes to decide what we can tell you, and you'll have a story. Okay? Okay, here's the captain's office.
Here's us. Coming through, then.
Hello, Frank. Chief. Rough deal, huh? Rough? Wicked. Go ahead, help yourself. Come ahead, Frank. Frank.
Listen, give us a break, will you?
Close that door. They'll find a way, those guys. How you been, Frank?
Okay, fine.
How's Ellen?
Good.
I'll give him my best. Well, I guess I'll have to tell those boys something, Matt. They're entitled to their story.
Yes, sir, but I'd like to keep quiet about the boyfriend for a while. I don't think there's any point putting him into it yet, Chief.
No, neither do I. We can tell them that Edith Camden isn't a real name. She's just been using it since she came to New York.
Yes, sir.
What else?
Well, she worked as a model.
Not a cover girl.
No, sir, for a fashion house, then in a store, but I think they know that.
How about suspects?
Well, who, Chief?
Well, supposing I say there's 4 or 5 people we want to talk to, but that we can't divulge any names at this point.
Yes, sir, that'd be good. You might want to mention her address and phone book, that we're checking every one of her friends.
No, I'd better say acquaintances.
Yes, sir.
Yes, just that address and phone book ought to make them happy.
Always does.
30 detectives assigned to the case. How's that?
Fine.
They want to know if there was any evidence of her being killed by a burglar or someone who entered the apartment with criminal intent.
I think you can tell them that the place wasn't broken into, Chief.
Okay. Want them to let them talk to the maid, Matt?
I think all they'll want is pictures of her. We can go that far.
All right. Guess that about does it. Frank, let's get together some night, huh?
Oh, I'd be glad to, Chief.
I'll tell Mary to call Ellen and set it up, okay?
Fine.
Okay, Matt. Show me to the wolves.
Yes, sir.
All right, Chief. All right, fellas. Give him a chance. Give him a chance.
Chief, one question first. My desk wants to get a photographer into her apartment. When can we do that?
Sometime early this afternoon, just as soon as the technicians from the police laboratory get finished.
What time?
What time, Matt?
1:30 at the latest.
Quiet. Quiet. All right, boys, this is the story. We've got 30 men on the job. At this moment, we have no more idea than you do who the killer is. However, there are 4 or 5 people with whom we want to talk about this. Now, in addition to that, Miss Camden had a telephone and address book.
A little black book?
What color is it, Matt?
Baby blue leather.
Hey, boy. Now, in addition to the 4 or 5, we'll be in touch with every person listed in her phone book in order to get some idea of her movements yesterday and last night. As I told you before, the ME's office has not yet reported
So the press
finding
had
in
their
regards to
story.
the time of death.
All that could
But I
be
can tell you
divulged
this.
without hindrance to the
Killer
investigation was
apparently
given to
found
them.
Miss Camden.
In a few minutes, the reporters hurried out of the precinct house to find telephones. The chief of detectives and the acting captain of the homicide squad went upstairs to the 21st squad with Lieutenant King. Within an hour, both had left the precinct house. Now started the real work of the homicide investigation. Detectives of the homicide squad teamed off into pairs with men of the 21st squad to work as partners until the crime was cleared. At 1:30, the car came by the station house to take me to 6th Division headquarters, 160 East 35th Street, for a conference with the division commanders.
While I was out of the precinct, a well-dressed graying man in his late 40s was brought in by Detectives Whitey Howard of the 21st Squad and Edward McInerney of the Manhattan East Homicide Squad. They took him directly upstairs to the 21st Detective Squad.
This way, Mr. Newfield.
Yes. You don't think it will take long, do you?
I wouldn't know about that, sir.
Come in.
Lieutenant, we got Mr. Newfield here.
Oh, good. Come in, Mr. Newfield.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a seat.
Thank you. This was some shock. You have no idea what a shock. When these officers told me, it's like a bolt of lightning.
Cigarette, Mr. Newfield?
Oh, much obliged.
Ed? Whitey?
Thanks, Lieutenant. Thank you.
I'm Lieutenant King.
How do you do?
You know what this is all about, don't you, Mr. Newfield?
Yes, I suppose so.
Is Walter Newfield your full name, sir?
Walter Crane Newfield.
And where do you live?
I have a home in Westchester.
Where in Westchester?
Winslow Park.
Your business in New York?
That's right.
What is your business, Mr. Newfield?
I'm a paper broker.
And what is that?
I act as broker for mills in selling paper to printers and publishers.
I see. Do you commute to New York every day?
Every weekday, yes.
You married, Mr. Newfield?
Yes.
For how long?
19 years.
Any children?
Two girls in high school, 15 and 17.
You were acquainted with Miss Camden?
Yes.
For how long?
Oh, I don't know, 3.5 years, I suppose. What can I do with this? I really don't feel like smoking.
No. Here.
Thank you.
How well acquainted, Mr. Newfield?
Oh, quite well.
Did you see her frequently?
Yes.
How frequently?
2-3 times a week.
Ever oftener?
Yes, sometimes.
At her apartment?
Yes, there, and we'd go out to the theater and clubs together.
Was that her apartment, Mr. Newfield?
She lived there, yes.
I know she lived there, but who paid the rent?
Well, I imagine she did.
Who gave her the money?
Well, I don't suppose there's any use of denying the fact that Edith and I were very close. My wife and I hadn't gotten along for years. Someday I hope to marry Edith. That's the way it is. I couldn't help it. A man needs some sort of life.
You paid the rent?
Yes.
When did you last see her, Mr. Newfield?
The night before last.
You didn't see her yesterday?
No.
The last night?
No.
Were you in New York yesterday?
Yes.
Where?
I was at my office until 5:15.
And then?
I went to Grand Central, took the 534 home.
To Winslow Park?
That's right.
Was your wife at your home in Winslow Park?
No.
Where was she?
She and the girls are in Cape Cod for a month.
Was anyone at your house in Winslow Park besides you?
No, I was all alone.
Did you see anyone you knew on the train?
Well, I think so, Lieutenant, yes.
Who?
Well, I don't recall at the moment. I have to think about that.
Sure, go ahead. Think about it, Mr. Newfield.
Lieutenant, I know this can't help coming out. This whole thing is bound to get in the papers. I don't care about myself or what anybody says about me, but those 2 young girls of mine, this is going to be terrible on them. Just terrible.
It'll be worse on them, Mr. Newfield, if you continue to tell us lies.
Well, I haven't told you any lies.
Just said you didn't see Miss Camden last night. That's a lie, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
Said you were home in Winslow Park last night. That's also a lie. We know you never left New York. How about the truth, Mr. Newfield? How about the truth?
Well, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I haven't had time to think. I have nothing in the world but those 2 girls. Please think of them.
That was your job, Mr. Newfield. I've got mine.
The interrogation of Walter Crane Newfield continued. So did my conference at division headquarters. It finally broke up at 3 p.m. Patrolman Farrell drove me uptown to the 21st. I instructed him to pick up his partner and resume patrol. He drove away, and I walked up the steps and into the muster room.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Klein.
All right, 17.
Hello, Captain.
What's doing, Sergeant?
It's nothing like this morning, sir.
That's good. Where's Lieutenant Gorman?
I'm filling in for him, Captain. The DA's office called for him to come down in a hurry.
Yeah?
A burglary case went to bat this afternoon, which he made the arrest when he was a sergeant in the 64th last winter.
Well, this is a fine time to let us know, isn't it?
Well, the boy was going to take a plea, but he decided to stand trial at the last minute.
Oh. All right. Stand right up to the desk there, would you please?
Here.
Okay, Whitey, book him in.
Yes, sir. Just a second.
Hello, Matt.
Captain?
Walter Crane Newfield.
Matt?
Yes, Captain?
What's this?
That homicide.
Middle name is C-R-A-N-E. Crane?
Is that right? Yes, that's right.
That's fast work.
He got twisted up in his own lives.
N-U-F-F-I-E-L-D.
How'd it happen?
When he finally told us, he said she was going to break it off. She had a guy she wanted to marry.
Age? 47.
He was so enraged, he picked up a fire iron and hit her over the head.
What's the charge? Murder first.
Why'd he do it? What'd he say?
He said he killed her because he loved her.
Well, if you've got to kill somebody, that's as good a reason as any.
First Precinct, Sergeant Klein. Stole your what? Your safe. Where is it?
And so it goes. Around the
Well,
clock,
like-
through the week, every day, every year. A police precinct in the city of New York is a flesh and blood merry-go-round. Anyone can catch the brass ring. Or the brass ring can catch anyone.
21st Precinct, a factual account of the way the police work in the world's largest city, is presented with the official cooperation of the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, an organization of more than 20,000 members of the Police Department, City of New York. Everett Sloan in the role of Captain Kennelly, Ken Lynch as Lieutenant King. Featured in tonight's cast were Lawson Zerby, Wendell Holmes, George Petrie, Joseph Julian, Frank Reddick, Eric Dressler, and Rosetta Lenoir. Written and directed by Stanley Niss, produced for CBS Radio by John Ives. Art Hanna speaking.
'21st Precinct, Sergeant Burns. Stole your what? Your safe? Well, where is this? Where on Lexington? What is it, a store?
You're in the muster room at the 21st Precinct, the nerve center. A call is coming through.
When did you discover?
You will follow the action taken pursuant to that call from this minute until the final report is written in the 124 room at the 21st Precinct.
All right, the officers will be right over there. That's right. Just stay there. The officers will be right there. Yeah, right away.
21st Precinct. It's just lines on a map of the city of New York. Most of the 173,000 people wedged into the 9/10 of the square mile between Fifth Avenue and the East River wouldn't know if you asked them that they lived or worked in the 21st. Whether they know it or not, the security of their homes, their persons, and their property is the job of the men of the 21st Precinct.
The 21st. 160 patrolmen, 11 sergeants, and 4 lieutenants, of whom I'm the boss. My name is Kennelly, Frank Kennelly. I'm captain in command of the 21st. Tours vary like the weather. Some are calm, 8 hours with hardly a murmur in the precinct. Others are stormy. The switchboard hums continuously, and the sector cars hurry from one run to another. This tour was a stormy one. When I came on the job at 7:30 a.m., a 3-alarm fire in an old brewery near the East River had just been brought under control. 2 city firemen had been overcome and taken to Metropolitan Hospital. At 8:16 a.m., a bus and a taxicab collided on 2nd Avenue. The driver of the cab and his 2 passengers were injured. Shortly after 9 o'clock, there was a call that a paint store on Lexington Avenue had been burglarized during the night. I was still at the scene of the accident when Patrolman Farrell, my operator, rang into TS from a call box and informed me of the burglary. We made the run to Lexington Avenue. The men from Sector 4 and Sergeant Burns were already on the job. Farrell parked between their cars in front of the paint store. You stay with the car, Farrell.
Oh, hello, Captain.
Well, what do we got, Ross?
Safe job, sir.
Yeah?
Says they hauled it away. They just rolled it out the front door and carried it away.
All right.
Oh, watch the door, Captain. That's the way they got in and out.
Okay.
Sergeant Burns says the detectives might want to try it for fingerprints.
All right, stay on the job here. Keep the sidewalk clear.
Yes, sir.
What time do you usually open the store, Mr. Heelis?
The same time, 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock every day.
Hello, Sergeant.
Captain. Mr. Heelis, this is Captain Kennelly.
How are you?
Some mess to come to work to. Some mess.
Mr. Heelis is the proprietor, Captain, Mr. George Heelis. He opened up this morning and found the place had been burglarized during the night.
The whole safe they took. The whole safe. Well, you'd think the safe would be safe. The whole thing.
Did you notify the detective, Sergeant?
Yes, sir. I rang in as soon as I saw what it was. T.S. called upstairs to Vitale, who was catching. He notified the safe and loft squad. He's on the way over here himself.
And where was the safe?
Right back here, Captain. Right back here in plain view. With a light on it. I always make a practice to leave a light on it. Yes, right here. In between brushes and wallpaper.
What kind of safe was it, Mr. Heelis?
A black one.
No, I mean, do you know the name of the manufacturer and the style number?
Oh. Well, tell you the truth, no.
Well, when did you buy it?
Well, let's see. I had it when I removed to this location. Had it about a year then. I've been here 9 years, so I got the safe about 10.
It's important that the detectives have a description of the safe. Don't you have the manufacturer's name and the model number written down someplace?
Well, yes, to tell you the truth, I think I do. I think I got the original invoice from when I bought it.
Well, good. That's all they'll need. Where is this invoice?
In the safe.
That figures. How was the entry made, Sergeant?
The street door was jimmied, sir. It was a neat job. They got a bar in between the door and the frame and just snapped off the latch.
Yeah.
Now, when I walked up to the door, I could see something was screwy, Captain. I just touched it and it opened.
The lock was broken off.
Listen, I got my insurance policies in the safe, too. How does that make me stand uninsured?
Well, you don't need your policy. Just get in touch with your broker. Do you have any cash in the safe?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's why I keep the safe primarily.
How much?
Oh, $600-700.
Your receipts from yesterday?
Well, most of it. $450 is the receipt from yesterday. The rest is extra cash I keep around.
Why?
Why? Tell you the truth, Captain. It's a couple of $100 I had. I didn't want my wife to know about. You know, mad money. She knows everything I'm doing, how much I got in the bank down to the last nickel. You see, I'm the president, and she's secretary and treasurer of this little corporation we got here, Paints Incorporated. And she takes her job seriously, and I figured I'm entitled to a couple $100 she don't know anything about.
What is it, $600 or $700? I've got to have it definite for a report.
Well, between, I don't know. I have to check the register and so forth.
Well, what else did you have in there, Mr. Heelis?
Oh, a couple of dollars in stamps. Oh, for crying out loud. My war bonds. My war bonds was in there.
Well, you won't lose anything there. You have a record of the serial numbers.
Oh, yeah. Also in the safe.
Well, you sure had a lot of faith in that safe, Mr. Heelis.
Well, who would have thought, you know? Listen, the government will make good on those, won't they? That's my hard-earned money in those bonds. What happened?
Well, you better get in touch with the Treasury Department as soon as you can, Mr. Heelis.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
As a matter of fact, we'll notify them ourselves.
Anything else in there, Mr. Heelis?
My accounts receivable. Listen, how much chance is there of getting them back? I mean, the bonds and the accounts receivable. I don't care about the cash. You know, this could develop into an expensive proposition. Treasury might give me a hard time, and without the accounts receivable, well, to tell you the truth, I'm a dead duck. Accounts payable, who cares? The people I owe, if I don't pay them, they'll let me know. But the people that owe me aren't going to come around here and volunteer the money. No, sirree. You think I can get it back, Captain? The contents? Besides the cash, I mean?
You probably will, Mr. Heelis. All they want is the cash. Your ledgers and war bonds won't do them any good.
Oh, that's good news if it only comes true.
What'd they do, Sergeant? Roll it along here?
Yes, sir. You can see the tracks. Right down here and out the door. Must have had a pickup truck or a car waiting.
A car? Well, they couldn't get that safe into a car. You know how big that safe is? Why, it comes up to here, up to here. Well, there must have been 9 guys to move it. Look, I haven't had it out of that corner for 2 years. It was so heavy. Look at the dust back there.
Are you in the store all alone, Mr. Heelis?
That's right, all alone. Oh, except on Saturdays. My wife comes down to give me a hand and work on the books. You know, she's got a job downtown on Wall Street. On Saturdays, she comes to help me out.
Mm-hmm. Have you always been alone in the store?
Well, yeah, for the last 3 or 4 years. I used to have help, but it got more than the traffic could bear. I couldn't keep them. I always had their problems, plus my own. I figured it didn't pay. 12 guys there must have been to roll that safe out of here. Believe me, it was this big, and heavy. Now, who could that be on the phone? It's a fine time to call.
You better answer it, Mr. Heelis.
It's a fine time for business as usual.
Go ahead.
Yeah, excuse me.
Some deal, huh, Captain?
It is some deal. They had to jimmy the door. They had to roll the safe out here across the sidewalk and onto the truck. Where was the patrolman on post?
Beats me, Captain.
Hello, Heelis Street.
What time do you think they broke in, Sergeant?
They closed the store at 6 o'clock. Didn't open up until 9 this morning. It could have been any time in between.
All right.
Sergeant, send forthwith to the men who are on post here for the night tour and for the late tour. I want them both in my office by noon.
Yes, sir.
I want to know why they didn't see this burglary in progress, or at least discover that the door was jimmied.
Hey, listen, Captain, that telephone's for you.
For me?
Yeah, I answered it, and somebody says, who's the cop in charge there? It was some dame. And I said, there's a captain here. And she said, let me talk to the captain.
All right, where is it?
Yeah, back there on the counter, right next to the cash register.
Okay. You don't need all those men here, Sergeant. Get some of them back on patrol.
Yes, sir. All right, man.
Captain Kennelly.
Are you in charge of the cops there?
Who is this?
Well, that's not important now, Captain.
And if you want to talk to me, it's important.
Well, look, if you really want to know who it is, I'm the guy that got the safe from there.
Is that so?
Yeah, that's so. I want to make you a little proposition.
Well, I don't know whether I want to talk about a proposition with you.
Well, whatever we talk about, let's make it fast. I don't want to give you a chance to find out where I'm calling from.
All right, I'll make it fast. What do you want?
I want the combination.
You don't want much, do you?
Look, we've been trying to get into that thing all night. We've been trying to rip it. We've been using a torch on it. All we want's the dough, that's all.
Well, that's very nice of you.
The deal is you give it the combination. I know he's got a lot of other stuff in there he wants besides the money. But that's all I want, the money.
Well, what's your proposition?
Give it the combination, we'll leave the stuff where it can be picked up without getting hurt. We'll leave the whole safe.
And if you don't get it?
If we don't get it, the safe winds up the bottom of the river, and Helis never sees anything else he's got in there. That's fair, isn't it? How fair can you get?
All right, just hold the phone a minute.
No, I don't
Talk
hold
it
the
over
phone. I'll call you back. Captain who?
Captain Kennelly, 21st Precinct.
I'll call you back there.
Hello. Hello.
What's the trouble, Captain?
That was the burglar.
The burglar? Did you say that was the burglar on the phone?
Well, that's who he said he was.
Well, what does he want?
He wants the combination to the safe.
Well, that's a lot of nerve. What does he think he is?
He can't get it open. He said if he gets the combination, you'll recover everything else in the safe except the money. All he wants is the money. If he doesn't get it, the whole thing goes to the bottom of the river.
You mean I could get my accounts receivable and my war bonds back?
Well, that's what he said.
Well, who cares about the money? I'm covered with insurance for that. I'll go along with him. I'm inclined to do that.
Well, I don't know whether I am, Mr. Healer.
Now, look, whose stuff is it? I got a lot to lose.
We'll talk it over with the detectives. We'll see what they want to do about it.
I've been a long time in this job, Captain. I never heard of anything like this before.
You learn something new every day, Sergeant. Every day in the year. Within a few minutes, detectives of both the 21st Squad and the Safe Loft and Truck Squad, the central office specialists who handle safe burglaries on a citywide basis, arrived at the scene. Sergeant Burns gave them such information as he had collected, and I told them of the phone call from the man who purported to be one of the burglars. The detectives took over the investigation, and Sergeant Burns instructed his men to resume patrol. I returned to the precinct house. Lieutenant Gorman told me he had sent forthwith to the homes of Patrolman Coley and White. These were the men who were on post number 6, which included the burglarized paint store during the preceding night and late tours. Both men were en route from their homes. I went into my office to read and sign reports and communications which had accumulated since I was on duty previously. At 20 minutes after 10, I had almost finished with the paperwork when I looked up and saw Lieutenant Matt King, commander of the 21st Detective Squad, and another man standing in the door.
You got a minute, Captain?
Yeah, sure, Matt. Come in.
How are you, Captain?
Fine, man.
This is Detective Andy Sawyer of the Safe and Loft Squad.
Oh, I'm glad to know you, Sawyer.
Yes, sir.
Sit down. Matt, sit down.
Thank you.
Pull that chair over.
Well, it was an odd one this morning, wasn't it, Captain?
Yeah, it sure was. How do you figure it, Sawyer? You fellows ever heard anything like that before?
No, sir, it's new to us.
Guy must be a psycho trying to swing a deal like that.
Well, it didn't sound much like a psycho over the phone, Matt. How have you fellows got it figured?
Well, there are a couple of things, Captain. One, Mr. Healer said it was a woman on the phone when he answered. You picked it up, it was a man.
Yeah, that's right.
Two, from the description Healer gave us of the box, it sounds like a certified 600. Now, a safe man who really knows his business wouldn't find much trouble getting into a box like that. He'd try ripping it. And if that didn't work, he'd use a cutting torch and get inside of it that way, especially since they carried it off and can work on it at their leisure. They aren't red-hot ironmen, that's for sure. Whoever they are, I don't think they've been long on trade.
Well, how many do you think there were?
Well, the box weighs 600 pounds. There must have been at least 3 of them, maybe 4.
And what about the girl on the phone?
I don't know, Captain.
You know, I've got an idea about that.
Yes, sir.
Well, if this burglar was going to put the proposition to someone, who'd be the logical person? Not the cops on the job.
That's right. The logical one would have been Helis.
I don't think he wanted to talk to Helis. That's why he had the girl put in the call.
You mean Helis might have recognized his voice?
He might have.
Yes, sir, that's a good possibility. But why the girl? There must have been at least 2 other men on the deal. Why the girl?
Well, I don't know. Any number of reasons.
Andy, do you think we ought to check out some of the people Helis knows?
That's a good idea, Lieutenant.
He said he used to have help in the store, but not anymore. How about his former employees?
Yes, sir, there might be something there. Are you going to be around here all day?
Well, I was going out on patrol again this afternoon, that's all. Why?
Well, we figured this guy might call back here to see if the deal will go through.
Well, what do you want me to do?
Well, if he does, we've got the switchboard here. I'll be right out there. I'll keep one line open to the telephone company to get the location of the phone he's calling from. I'll have CB keep up a direct connection to the radio dispatcher.
As soon as we can get the location, he'll have a car right over there. He won't stay on the phone long enough. He wouldn't this morning. He knows now that we're looking for his call.
He's got to stay on long enough for you to give him the combination.
Well, then, you want to go along with him?
Yes, sir, we might as well. If it doesn't work and we don't get him, maybe at least Helis will get his property back. That's what he's most worried about anyway.
Yeah, we'll be out at the board and start to work on every call that comes through to you, Captain, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's all right.
If you'll take just a few seconds longer to get to the phone than you normally do, we might have a chance.
If he calls again.
Well, Captain, he's got the safe. We've got the combination. If he had moxie enough to carry that safe out across the sidewalk, he's got enough to make another telephone call. Squad stationed himself next to the telephone switchboard, ready to use another line to trace any subsequent call from the safe burglar. He got head starts on 2 callers who asked for me, but both of them turned out to be ordinary police business. At 11 o'clock, Patrolman Coley, who had worked the 4 p.m. to midnight tour on the post where the safe burglary occurred, came into the precinct house as ordered. I questioned him thoroughly regarding his activities on post during the previous night. At the end of the interview, I was convinced that the burglary had not occurred through his negligence. Patrolman Coley was allowed to return to his home. By 11:35, the safe burglar had still not been heard from again. I finished my paperwork and started out of the office and into the muster room when I saw Patrolman White, dressed in civilian clothes, standing at the desk talking to Lieutenant Gorman. He saw me and crossed the muster room. Excuse me, Captain.
Hello, White.
I got a forthwith to appear at the precinct house, Captain. Lieutenant Gorman said you put out the order.
That's right. Come inside.
Yes, sir.
You were assigned to post number 6 from midnight to 8 a.m.?
Yes, sir, that's right.
Are you familiar with the paint store on Lexington Avenue run by Mr. George Helis?
Yes, sir, that's on post number 6.
Did you have occasion to notice anything unusual at that paint store during your tour of duty?
No, sir.
Did you try the front door at all during your tour?
Yes, sir, I did on my first time around.
You saw nothing unusual during the balance of your tour?
No, sir.
Did you notice any truck parked on your post?
No, sir.
Sometime during the night, burglars jimmied the front door, got into the store, and rolled out a 600-pound safe. They rolled it out the front door, across the sidewalk, onto a truck. Where were you?
I didn't see them, Captain.
I know you didn't see them. I'm trying to find out why.
Yes, sir.
After your first time around, didn't you try the door again during the course of your tour?
No, sir.
Why not? Can you explain why you didn't?
Yes, sir.
Well, go ahead. Explain. That's what I'm waiting for.
Well, sir, a little after 1 o'clock, there was some trouble over in a bar on 3rd Avenue.
What kind of trouble?
2 of the patrons got into a fight, Captain. One of them hit the other over the head with a beer bottle. This man was hurt pretty bad. I had to go to the hospital with him.
Oh. What time did you get back on post?
At 2:23, Captain.
Well, did you start around again?
Yes, sir.
Did you try any front doors?
I started to, Captain, but it was along about that time that the alarm hit for this fire in the old brewery on the river.
Yes?
Well, Sergeant Collins drove by, sir. He instructed me to leave my post and go over to York Avenue.
What did you do there?
The fireman had a hose line struggling across York Avenue. There was about 30 pieces of apparatus there. I was instructed to reroute traffic onto 1st and 2nd.
Well, how long did you stay there?
Until I was relieved, Captain.
What time was that?
20 minutes after 8 o'clock this morning, Captain. I came to the station house and changed to my civilian clothes, sir. Then I went home and went to bed. And that's where I was when I got the forthwith.
Okay, White. You can go on back to bed.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Captain.
Oh, White.
Yes, sir, Captain.
How long you been in the job, White?
I'm 4 months out of the academy, Captain.
Do you know what Rule 107 is of the rules and regulations?
I think so, sir.
Well, what is it?
Charges will be preferred against any patrolman who shall, through neglect of duty, fail to discover, report, and take appropriate action in connection with any act or conditions on his post requiring police attention during his tour of duty.
Good. Don't forget it.
No, sir, I won't.
Okay. Go on home.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Captain.
Leave the door open. Captain Kennelly.
Sawyer, Captain, there's a call coming through for you. I think it's our boy.
Oh, all right.
If you'll hang up, sir, let it ring 3 or 4 times.
All right. Captain Kennelly.
You know who this is, Captain?
Yes, I think so.
What about the deal? You ready to go through with it?
Yes, we'll go through with it.
All right, what's the combination?
Now, wait a minute. First, I want your assurances that you're not going to throw that safe in the river. The man wants his property back.
You'll get it back.
Well, I just wanted to make
Listen,
sure.
I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to stall for time. I'm not going to stay on this line long enough for you to trace the call. Believe me, now I'm not. What's the combination?
Well, just a second. Let me find it.
Well, don't take more than a second. I'm telling you, don't take more than a second.
All right, I'm getting it.
What is it?
Just a second.
I'm telling you.
All right, here it is.
What?
It's 2 full turns to the right.
2 full turns to the right. Write that down, honey.
Stop at 71.
Stop at 71.
Back left past 71 and stop at 6.
Back left past 71 and stop at 6. 6. Then what?
Look, you're going to keep your promise, aren't you?
I'll keep my promise if you keep yours. What's the rest of the combination? I haven't got all day here. I know what you're trying to do.
Well, then right to 98.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it.
Bye.
I think we've got a chance, Captain.
Well, I couldn't keep him on the phone any longer, Sawyer. He knew what we were up to.
We made it, Captain.
Good. That girl was with him again. Apparently she was standing alongside of him, taking down the combination as he repeated it back.
It was from a pay station.
Ah, that figures.
Drugstore on Astoria Boulevard. A car from the 114th Precinct's on the way.
Well, that's fine. Maybe they'll make it.
I'll call the squad out there and ask him to take a look, too.
Okay.
I'll do it from the board. Oh, excuse me, Lieutenant.
That's all right. Go ahead.
We got the call, Lieutenant.
Did you talk to him, Captain?
Yeah, I gave him the combination. They traced it to a pay station and a drugstore on Astoria Boulevard.
Yeah, he's probably gone by now.
Yeah, a car is on the way, and Sawyer's calling out the 114th squad and have them go take a look, too.
Astoria, huh?
Ah, that's right.
You know something, Captain? I've had Vitali and Novak over there talking to that Mr. Hewitt for the better part of the morning.
Yeah.
We've been going on the possibility that maybe your suggestion is correct. The man didn't want to talk to Mr. Hewitt on the phone because he might recognize the voice. We asked him all about former employees and friends and relatives, anybody that he knew that was familiar with the store or worked there.
Well, did you get anywhere?
No place much, but one thing came out.
What's that?
Hewitt's wife has a brother who's been in a little trouble.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, he did one bit for grand larceny. He's been out for 2.5, 3 years. Hasn't gotten jammed up again since. Hewitt said his brother-in-law used to clerk at the store on Saturdays once in a while. You know, just help him out a little bit.
Yeah.
Said he wasn't much account as a clerk. Didn't know varnish from enamel. Said he hasn't seen his brother-in-law in about 7 or 8 months. Doesn't think his wife has either.
Well, that's nothing in itself, is it?
Hewitt would know his brother-in-law's voice over the telephone.
Yeah.
And his brother-in-law might think that Hewitt is a pretty good mark.
Well, it's a possibility, but you still don't have much, man.
Do you know where he lives, the brother-in-law?
Where?
Astoria.
Well, I guess you want to talk to him.
Yes, sir. I guess we do.
In another minute or so, Detective Sawyer came into my office and told me that he had spoken to the acting lieutenant in command of the 114th Squad. 2 detectives from there were en route to the drugstore on Astoria Boulevard to see if they could locate the caller. It was determined that Detective Sawyer, accompanied by Detective Vitali of the 21st Squad, would go to Astoria and talk to the brother-in-law of the victim, Lee Goring. The fact that the brother-in-law lived in Astoria and had a criminal record was considered more than a coincidence. After they left my office, I turned my attention to other business at the precinct. At 1 p.m., I went on patrol and returned in time to turn out the platoon for the night tour at 4. The precinct was calmer than when I came on the job in the morning. The storm had abated. After the men marched out of the door, a call came from upstairs through TS. Lieutenant King would like to see me in the detective squad. I walked through the back room where several of the men who had just come off duty were standing around talking. I climbed the rickety stairs to the second floor and walked into the 21st Squad. I saw Detective Sawyer sitting on the edge of a desk talking to a small, blonde young woman. I walked over to him.
Well, I was just doing him a favor. That's all I was doing.
Hello, Sawyer.
Oh, hello, Captain. How are you?
After all he asked me to do was to make a telephone call for him. If a girl can't make a telephone call for a man, well, what's this world coming to?
Captain, this is Eleanor Hoffel.
How do you do?
I'm sure. Well, I didn't have anything to do with breaking into that store. I wasn't anywhere near the place. I didn't even know what it was all about. He asked me to do him a favor, that's all, and I did. I didn't know what it was all about.
He asked you to write down the combination, too, when he got it from the captain here. You knew what that was all about, didn't you?
Well, not exactly. He's not the kind that tells you everything.
Have you got it wrapped up, Andy?
Yes, sir, pretty much. Vitaly and I went out to this house in Astoria. We found the brother-in-law out there and her.
I told you, I was just visiting. That's all I was doing. I was just visiting.
We took a look in the garage, and what do you think was there?
The safe?
Yes, sir, the safe.
I didn't know it was in there. I don't look in garages. Why should I look in a garage? I was just visiting him, and he asked me to do a favor. You can't kill somebody for doing a favor.
Where's the lieutenant? In his office?
Yes, sir.
I didn't know what it was all about. That's the honest to goodness truth.
Yes.
Captain Kennelly.
Come in, Captain.
Thought you'd like to meet this man, Captain. You've talked to him over the phone. Lee Goring.
Look, what are we waiting for? You got the safe, you got me. Book me, get it over with, will you? I'm tired.
Because you were up all night last night?
Because I was up all night last night, yeah.
Wasn't a very smart thing to do, break into your brother-in-law's store, was it?
That was smart enough. The stupid thing was leaving the safe in my garage. I should have found someplace else.
Did you find out who was with him on that deal last night, Ben? Yes, sir. He's told us.
Sure, I told you. I told you everything. Why should I keep anything back? They walked out on me. You think I want to be in and them out? Not me, brother. I weak and easy. When I go down for the third time, I take everybody with me.
Why'd you pick on your own brother-in-law?
I wanted to keep the money in the family.
That was thoughtful, wasn't it, Captain? Yeah, very. We're sending a truck out after the safe, Captain. I'm kind of anxious to see it. Sawyer told me they clawed at it, hacked at it, and burned it with a torch, tried to knock the knob off. Couldn't make a dent in it.
Must be a pre-war safe. Did they build them like that today? Who's got a chance with one of those things? And it's work. You know that's work? To get it out of the store, onto the truck, and out to the garage, then to go to work on it. You know we worked on that thing from 3:30 this morning till almost 8. We couldn't make a dent in it.
Is that when you got the bright idea to call me?
Yeah. Came over to New York, walked down the other side of Lexington Avenue to see what kind of rumble it was from the job. I saw all the cops' cars parked out in front. I went in the candy store and called.
Who was with you, just Eleanor?
Yeah, that's right, just Eleanor. I had the idea out in the garage, but the other boys thought I was crazy. They wouldn't have any part of it. I said to them, look, I'm not 2 feet from where all that money is, not 2 feet, and I can't get my hands on it. If you don't want any part of it, get out. I'll go it myself. So they got out. All that work and not a dime out of it. That's what gets me. Back-breaking work. You going to bring them in here, those boys? I'd like to see the looks on their faces. They take a fall, don't get a dime out of it. I'm laughing. It's a big joke.
All right. Come in, Mr. Hewitt.
Yeah, sure.
I'm Lieutenant King.
How are you? I'm pleased to know you. Lee, I don't know what to say.
Say hello.
I'm ashamed of you, Lee. Really ashamed of you. My own wife's brother to do such a thing.
What do you want from me, George? I did it. What am I going to do? Say I'm sorry?
You would really throw the safe from the river, your own brother-in-law's accounts receivable in bonds at the bottom of the river? I can understand how you would do it to me, but your own flesh and blood is my wife.
George, don't knock yourself out.
Why did you do it, Lee? Why didn't you come to me if you needed money?
I needed money, but who needed a song and dance with it?
Captain, do you understand it? I don't. A grown man, look at him. In his trade, he can go out and make $20, $25 a day. $25 a day, and he's got to get himself in trouble again like this. What's the answer? $25 a day.
Well, Mr. Helis, the answer seems to be that he prefers night work.
21st Precinct, Sergeant Burns. Well, who got bitten? How old? 4? Well, where's the dog? Is the dog there? Well, where is the dog? Where's that? Oh, I see. Well, what's the name of the girl who was bitten? W-E-A-L-D.
And so it goes. Around the clock, through the week, every day, every year. A police precinct in the city of New York is a flesh and blood merry-go-round. Anyone can catch the brass ring. Or the brass ring can catch anyone.
21st Precinct, a factual account of the way the police work in the world's largest city, is presented with the official cooperation of the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, an organization of more than 20,000 members of the Police Department, City of New York. Everett Sloan in the role of Captain Kennelly, Ken Lynch as Lieutenant King. Featured in tonight's cast were Larry Haynes and John Sylvester, Scott Tennyson, Wendell Holmes, William Flatley, and Joan Morgan. Written and directed by Stanley Niss. Produced for CBS Radio by John Ives.